Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. I'm excited to be back here at Fantasy Labs doing a lineup review of Week 16. It took place on Christmas Eve. Hope all of you guys had a great Christmas. My Christmas Day teams actually did well. On Christmas Eve, I got smoked. We'll take a look at my lineups and go through the process of what I did. So, this is one cash game team that I had. Was pretty much on all these players. Cam Newton, I played across the industry. Did have a Drew Stanton team on DraftKings as well, but Cam Newton I thought was the clear choice at quarterback. Really disappointing game. Fortunately, got a rushing touchdown at the very end of the game, or it would have been even worse. But Cam Newton I thought was just in a great spot at home versus Tampa Bay, and he's obviously been running. And if you look at his game log, he's been playing exceptionally well. So had no problem with the Cam Newton pick. Went Deion Lewis here, you can see in the three donks, was 100% owned. I thought he was a pretty clear choice given his role with James White and Hogan out. Really big end of the game for Deion Lewis. So he was a critical piece to have, as well as Todd Gurley in tournaments. Had a ton of Deion Lewis, did not have enough Todd Gurley. I decided to go Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Went away from Todd Gurley, who I was considering a little bit. The other consideration was Ezekiel Elliott. And then there were some cheap options to it, running back, that you could have gone with. But I decided to go with Christian McCaffrey and Kamara. Christian McCaffrey with Cam Newton I thought was a great stack. Wasn't involved in the passing game like I thought he would be, which was disappointing. But I don't hate the process of Christian McCaffrey. He sets up extremely well on DraftKings. And I just thought Carolina would be extremely efficient on offense, and that didn't come to fruition. Keenan Allen I thought was a pretty clear choice on DraftKings as well. At only 7,700, his pass catching role. Disappointing game for him, a low scoring game here with the Chargers and Jets. But I thought the process was good. He had that incredible stretch and just didn't have his best game. He was pretty chalky across the industry in cash games. Chris Godwin was basically a lock, almost had the 100-yard bonus. Got injured in the middle of the game. I don't know how much that impacted him. Did drop a touchdown as well, but almost got there. Min price, with Deshaun Jackson out, he was very clearly a big play. I like the fact that my cash game lineup had Newton, McCaffrey, and Godwin. Some nice correlation there, as well as Cameron Brate. I went with Demaryius Thomas, who had a really big prop, and I shifted more exposure to him with Emmanuel Sanders out. Osweiler's been effective getting him the ball, and I don't hate the process. Not a good game, obviously, but thought there was a lot of opportunity for him. Cameron Brate, I went at tight end. I went Cameron Brate, Ebron, as well as Gronk across the industry with Travis Kelce on FanDuel. Brate, I thought was a decent play, really a price play for me here to fit in Kamara and the Patriots defense. Kamara I absolutely loved. He had a prop of 5 catches, 50 yards with massive juice on the over. Was just hoping to get in the end zone. Did get the catches and yards, but not very effective running the football. And New Orleans, like Carolina, was just not effective on offense. And then I went with the Patriots defense. I like the Patriots, the Bengals, the Chargers. Thought there was a lot of good defenses to play, and this team worked with the Patriots. Levitan went with a similar kind of build. Melvin Gordon was the other running back that I used in one cash game team. That in hindsight, I think I should have had more exposure to. Challenge with some of the teams was having Melvin Gordon, Keenan Allen, as well as Antonio Gates. But he went with Cam Newton, Gordon, who had a really, really nice game across the board. Deion Lewis, Keenan Allen, Keelan Cole, decided to go with Keelan Cole, run it back with him, Chris Godwin, Delaney Walker, Kenyon Drake, and Bengals defense. So some contrarian plays here. Drake didn't end up being that popular. Keelan Cole, I thought was a nice play, did get the bonus. Godwin, Keenan Allen, so a lot of the same receivers, Deion Lewis, and then Melvin Gordon. So a really nice team overall from Levitan. The result wasn't as strong. I think this is a little below average team, but like the process here. Kenyon Drake would be the guy I'd question the most. Bales went with Russell Wilson, Leonard Fournette, so some really contrarian plays here, but had Eric Ebron as well as the Chargers defense, Keelan Cole, Mike Evans, Godwin, so nice team overall from Bales here. He faded Keenan Allen, who busted. Faded a lot of the running backs who didn't do well, and got Zeke, Leonard Fournette, and Deion Lewis in there with the Chargers defense. So congrats to Bales. He took down the 3-man as well as going perfect 3-0 on his picks for the 3 donkeys. I went 2-1, which is good for me. I've been bad on the picks all year, but unfortunately Bales swept the board with the 3 donkeys this week. All right, so taking a look at the main event championship, the million to first. I did really poorly in this event, did not cash a team. But Mr. Good Seats, we'll take a look at his winning lineup here first. Cam Newton, Melvin Gordon, Deion Lewis, Fitzgerald, Godwin, Demaryius Thomas, who was pretty popular, Antonio Gates, Gurley, and the Panthers D. So the big thing here is he won it with some pretty big busts. Cam Newton busting, Demaryius Thomas busting, but the rest of the team was just so good that he did well. And not really a contrarian team either. His lowest owned player was 10%, Larry Fitzgerald. So the combination of Larry Fitzgerald, Deion Lewis, and Todd Gurley was really the key here for Mr. Good Seeds. So great team. Cash BRM had a lot of really good teams out there. Had a ton of Todd Gurley. You can see here took 2nd, 4th, 5th, and just some overall really strong teams. My best team was a Jameis Winston stack with Gordon, McCaffrey, Cooks, Evans, Godwin, Ebron, Fitzgerald, and Chargers D. I had way too much Kamara and McCaffrey and no Gurley, so that was really the letdown. My worst team, you can see down here, was really poor. Russell Wilson stack with McCaffrey, Mixon, Zeke, Jimmy Graham, Doug Baldwin, Godwin, Cooks, and Bengals and Mixon stack here. So I don't mind the roster construction. Basically, I had a stack with Russell Wilson, Jimmy Graham, and Doug Baldwin, running it back with Zeke and some chalkier plays mixed in, and it just didn't come to fruition. So don't hate my thought process on all these teams, but certainly didn't have the results. I really enjoyed looking through the teams here. So you can see Cash BRM had a lot of really good teams. His highest leverage play was Todd Gurley, which paid off really big. Demaryius Thomas was another one. Antonio Gates, Christian McCaffrey. So some really big plays and some busts in there for Cash BRM. But he had a great finish there. You can look through some other guys like Papa Gates, who I think is always a fun. If you look at the entries here, Papa Gates, he had the most leverage on Mark Ingram, Carlos Hyde, Des Bryant, AJ Green, Kenyon Drake, Sean McCoy. So really put an emphasis on being contrarian here with some of these plays. And it's just a great way to see how they build the lineups. You can actually view all the lineups that he had. So I really like going through this, and you can see kind of the roster construction here. They're big on game stacks, which I think is really important. And you can learn from the best players. So this tool is incredibly helpful, the contest dashboard here at Fantasy Labs. You can see guys like Chipotle, Attic, Papa Gates, see all the guys who did put in the 111 entries. So Chess is Okay is another one that I was looking at. Obviously won the 2 million, as well as had some really big finishes throughout the year. And you can see where they're gaining leverage versus the field. One other thing I wanted to review was my lineup for Christmas Day. Just thought these 2-game slates are interesting and people have asked about them. And basically, I went with a full Pittsburgh stack with the Eagles. Was fortunate to have a good score here, even with busts. I mean, it was filled with a lot of busts. Torrey Smith and Will Fuller. The receivers really just didn't do well outside of Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, and Amari Cooper, ironically. But with Big Ben, got the running backs I really wanted, Ajayi and Le'Veon Bell. I really wanted to make sure I got Zach Ertz as well. And then the Eagles defense paid a huge dividend with the fumble recovery for a touchdown at the end of the game. So that was my team. And again, I only had one player that wasn't an Eagle or a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I think that's totally fine here on these 2-game slates. So hope this was helpful for you guys. Definitely review the contest dashboard. You can look at all the best players. It's been a frustrating tournament year for me, but I have a lot of stuff to look through and review. Hoping to do well here in week 17, and always just trying to get better at DFS. That's the name of the game. So again, hope this was helpful. Good luck this week, and as always, looking to see Fantasy Lab subscribers at the top of the leaderboard.